For months, XRP has sat in the shadows, underestimated by casual traders, yet closely tracked by those who understand capital rotation and liquidity positioning. Now, with Ripple's legal battle officially behind it, analyst models pointing to a final pre-rally wave, and even whispers of a BlackRock-backed Spot XRP ETF, the question is no longer whether XRP has a future. The real question is, are we standing at the threshold of one of the most asymmetric wealth-building windows in the digital asset market? In this briefing, we'll cut through speculation, unpack expert projections, and reveal why the next moves in XRP may define portfolios for years to come. Is XRP a millionaire maker? The phrase millionaire maker is one of the most abused in the crypto space, usually tossed around by influencers who measure success in clicks, not in capital preservation or actual ROI. But in XRP's case, this isn't a meme narrative. It's a legitimate question that demands a numbers-first approach. Let's look at the fundamentals. XRP isn't a white paper promise. It's a deployed, functioning payment asset embedded into Ripple's institutional-grade settlement system. That system already operates in live corridors across Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America, moving capital faster and cheaper than the legacy SWIFT network ever could. This is not hypothetical adoption. It's in production. The upside equation comes down to three variables. 1. Utility scale. As more corridors go live and central banks integrate RippleNet, the transaction volume flowing through XRP could multiply exponentially. 2. Liquidity velocity. The faster value moves, the more demand pressure builds against the circulating supply. XRP's speed, 3 to 5 seconds per settlement, amplifies that effect. Number 3, regulatory clearance. With the SEC case officially over, XRP now enjoys the kind of clarity most crypto projects can only dream of, making it a green-light asset for institutional portfolios. When you combine those three forces, you're looking at a rare market setup, a high-utility asset legally de-risked, entering an environment of growing global liquidity demand. For the average retail trader, that's speculation. For the strategic investor, it's the early stages of a potential structural revaluation. The millionaire maker question isn't about whether XRP will randomly pump. It's about whether you can identify and act on one of the most asymmetric positioning windows in this market cycle. And right now, the indicators are aligning. Ripple CTO sets the record straight about XRP once and for all. In a market driven by speculation, rumors can move prices faster than facts. That's why when Ripple's chief technology officer, David Schwartz, steps in to address misconceptions, serious investors pay attention. Over the past year, XRP has been the target of persistent misinformation, claims ranging from it being controlled by Ripple to the idea that it has no role beyond internal testing. In a recent deep dive discussion, Schwartz dismantled those narratives point by point, reaffirming the core truths about XRP's design and purpose. He emphasized that XRP's ledger operates independently of Ripple as a company. Ripple may be a major stakeholder and technology developer, but the ledger itself is decentralized, maintained by a global network of validators. This isn't a proprietary payment token. It's a public, open-source asset with utility that extends far beyond Ripple's corporate walls. Schwartz also addressed one of the most common points of confusion: XRP's real-world use cases. Unlike speculative meme coins that live or die on social media attention, XRP is a bridge currency purpose-built for cross-border settlement. It eliminates the need for pre-funded Nostrovostro accounts, freeing up billions in dormant liquidity for banks and payment providers. His message to the market was clear. The value of XRP isn't based on hype cycles, but on the proven efficiency of its technology and the scale of adoption it's positioned to achieve. For investors, that's more than reassurance. It's a reminder that the asset's fundamentals remain intact and in many ways stronger than ever post-SEC victory. By cutting through the noise, the Ripple CTO not only defends the asset's credibility, he resets the narrative. And in crypto, when the right narrative takes hold at the right time, price action tends to follow. Analyst spots XRP final wave to precede massive rally. Technical analysts tracking XRP's price structure are starting to see what they describe as the final wave, the kind of chart pattern that, if confirmed, marks the end of consolidation and the start of a major breakout. One veteran market analyst who correctly called XRP's 2017 surge months before it happened points to Elliott wave theory as the framework here. According to his read, XRP is completing the fifth and final corrective wave within a long-term bullish formation. In plain English, we're in the last stretch before a potential impulsive rally. The key levels to watch: support around the 55-cent zone and resistance at 7.75 cents. If XRP can hold its current base without breaking down and then clear that resistance on strong volume, the next leg could push into multi-dollar territory faster than most expect. Historical data shows that XRP's largest moves often occur within compressed timeframes, days or even hours, after extended periods of sideways price action. This isn't just a retail narrative either. The Analyst notes that XRP's on-chain metrics, such as active addresses and transaction volume, have been quietly rising even as price remains suppressed. That kind of divergence often signals accumulation by entities who are playing the long game. In other words, while casual traders see nothing happening, seasoned investors see a spring coiling. If this read is correct, the final wave isn't a throwaway phrase. It's the last boarding call before XRP enters a phase of aggressive upward repricing. Expert analysis shows XRP delivers greater upside than traditional S&P 500. In traditional investing circles, the S&P 500 is often treated as the gold standard for steady long-term growth. It's the benchmark for retirement portfolios, index funds, and safe wealth accumulation. But according to a new comparative analysis by a leading digital asset strategist, XRP may offer a significantly greater upside potential, and in a fraction of the time. Over the past decade, the S&P 500 has delivered an impressive average annual return of about 10 to 12%. That's strong by traditional standards, but when you factor in inflation, real gains shrink further. Meanwhile, XRP's historical rallies, despite legal battles and market-wide downturns, have shown the ability to deliver multi-100% moves in short bursts. The strategist points out that crypto assets like XRP operate on fundamentally different market mechanics. Instead of being tied to corporate earnings cycles, XRP's price movements are heavily influenced by adoption milestones, regulatory clarity, and macro shifts in payment technology. In other words, one piece of good news can compress years' worth of traditional market gains into weeks. For instance, when Ripple secured its partial court victory against the SEC, XRP's price surged nearly 100% in less than 24 hours, a move that would take the S&P years to match under normal circumstances. And that wasn't even a full bull market. The takeaway from the experts' report is clear. While the S&P offers stability, XRP offers asymmetric opportunity. For investors who can tolerate higher volatility and understand the technology's trajectory, the potential reward-to-risk ratio is in a different league entirely. As the report bluntly puts it, if you're looking for predictable returns, stick with the S&P 500. If you're looking for transformative gains, XRP belongs in the conversation. Ripple v. SEC, case officially over, appeals dropped, XRP eyes breakout. After more than 3 years of courtroom battles, uncertainty, and price suppression, the legal cloud hanging over XRP has finally lifted. The Ripple v. SEC saga, one of the most closely watched cases in crypto history, is officially over. Both sides have dropped appeals, cementing the court's previous rulings that XRP itself is not a security. For investors and institutions alike, this is a game changer. The lawsuit had been a major obstacle to XRP's adoption in the US, as exchanges delisted the token and large investors avoided it due to regulatory risk. Now, that barrier is gone. Within hours of the news breaking, market chatter turned from cautious optimism to outright bullishness. Analysts note that legal clarity is often the green light large institutional players wait for before entering a market. Without the looming threat of SEC enforcement, banks, payment providers, and investment funds can integrate XRP into their operations without fear of legal backlash. Technically, XRP's chart reflects this shift in sentiment. The token has been consolidating just below a major resistance level, and traders are eyeing a decisive breakout that could trigger a cascade of buying pressure. If history repeats, the combination of legal certainty and technical setup could lead to a price move that catches the market off guard. Ripple's leadership has been quick to frame this as more than just a win for the company. They're calling it a victory for the entire crypto industry, setting a precedent that could influence future SEC cases. With the legal fight now in the rearview mirror, XRP is entering uncharted territory, a market free to price in its potential without the shadow of regulatory doom. And that's exactly the kind of environment where explosive moves tend to happen. BlackRock will file for Spot XRP ETF, says expert as finish line approaches. If there's one name that sends ripples through the financial markets, it's BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, overseeing more than $10 trillion in assets. According to one well-connected market analyst, BlackRock's next big move may be to file for a Spot XRP ETF. The reasoning is simple. BlackRock has already made waves in the digital asset space by pushing forward with its Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, both of which saw massive investor interest. Now that XRP has full regulatory clarity in the US, the pathway for a spot ETF becomes far less complicated from a compliance perspective. An XRP ETF wouldn't just be another investment vehicle, it could be the key to unlocking a tidal wave of institutional and retail capital. ETFs make it easier for traditional investors to gain exposure without dealing with crypto wallets, private keys, or exchanges. If a spot XRP ETF were approved, pension funds, mutual funds, and registered investment advisors could allocate to XRP with the same ease as buying Apple or Tesla stock. The analyst notes that timing will be everything. If BlackRock moves before the next full-scale crypto bull run, it could secure a first-mover advantage and capture a massive share of the XRP investment market. Market sentiment is already buzzing with the possibility. Traders see it as a matter of when, not if. And with BlackRock's track record of influencing regulatory attitudes and securing ETF approvals, this speculation isn't just wild guesswork. It's rooted in how the financial chessboard is being played. If confirmed, a spot XRP ETF could serve as the single most bullish catalyst in the asset's history, potentially dwarfing past rallies and opening the door to valuations that until now existed only in the most optimistic price models. XRP price suppressed by layered coordinated manipulation, pundit alleges. While the broader XRP community is celebrating legal victories and eyeing institutional adoption, not everyone believes the asset's current market value is purely organic. A prominent market pundit has alleged that XRP's price has been intentionally held down through what he calls layered coordinated manipulation. According to the claim, large market actors, sometimes referred to as whales, are engaging in strategic sell walls, spoofing orders, and other subtle tactics designed to prevent XRP from breaking out of key resistance levels. These techniques can create the illusion of weak demand, spooking retail traders into selling prematurely while allowing bigger players to accumulate at lower prices. The alleged manipulation, the pundit suggests, may have been particularly effective during the SEC lawsuit years when uncertainty was already putting downward pressure on XRP. In such an environment, artificially suppressing price would require less effort and fewer resources to achieve. While there's no smoking gun of evidence, seasoned traders point to unusual volume patterns, sudden price rejections, and long periods of sideways trading despite strong fundamental news as signs that someone is keeping a lid on XRP's market action. If these allegations hold weight, the recent legal clarity and potential ETF narrative could make such strategies far harder to sustain. In other words, if manipulation has been capping XRP's growth, the dam may soon be about to break. And when it does, pent-up price pressure could unleash a rally far stronger than anyone expects. As always in crypto, the truth lies somewhere between speculation and market reality. But one thing's certain, with the lawsuit over, adoption growing, and institutions circling, the conditions that made suppression possible are rapidly disappearing. So, where does all this leave us? XRP has survived one of the longest and most high-profile legal battles in crypto history, secured regulatory clarity in the US, and is now the subject of institutional whispers involving BlackRock itself. Analysts are mapping out bullish technical setups, experts are comparing its upside to beating the S&P 500, and even the possibility of price suppression being lifted is on the table. Whether you believe XRP is a millionaire maker or just another speculative asset, one thing is undeniable. The next chapters in its story could be some of the most dramatic the crypto market has ever seen. But remember, in crypto, timing is everything. The moves you make before the headlines become reality often matter most. So what's your take? Is XRP primed for a breakout, or are we in for another twist? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this with someone who needs to hear the XRP story, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next update. The XRP clock is ticking. Are you ready?